but I still feel so alone.
You're listening to the Elias Macco Show on CJAD 800.
Welcome to the end, and now we're living.
Welcome back. David Heurtel in for Elias. I am now joined in studio by Sherri McGurnaghan from Cybersecurity Leadership. Is that correct?
Well, that's really very sweet of you. I'm not sure I would put myself in the leadership category, but I'll take it.
Oh, come on.
I will take it.
You are a leader in this, so you're a regular contributor, and you are in studio. Thank you for coming in today. So we talk all things cyber with you. And so the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is what I read this weekend that actually the cloud businesses are saying the cloud is too expensive and they're leaving the cloud. Wasn't the cloud supposed to be the big solution to everything, and everything was supposed to be on the cloud and we live and die by the cloud? And wasn't that going to be the thing now forever?
It was certainly going to allow for rapid expansion, right? So you didn't have to physically go and get another server to put in a room and then worry about whether there was enough space, whether there was enough air conditioning, right? Because these things heat up and they don't like to be hot, right? So it was definitely that solution for, rapid expansion. Now, the problem is we've all gone to the cloud and we haven't secured things properly. And guess what happens when you don't secure things properly and you leave back doors open? Okay,
now a lot of this we need to break down. First of all, okay, what do you mean by not securing things properly?
So if you leave open door, let's call them open windows, right, for somebody to get in, ports and things like that, to get into your infrastructure, to then steal data. So if we go back and remember the Walmart incident a couple of years back.
Remind us.
It was a few years back. Walmart was completely hacked. All of their customer data, credit cards, et cetera, all stolen. How did they get in? Through the air conditioning system infrastructure.
Really?
Yeah. It was once you
that was in the cloud.
That was in the cloud.
So
exactly.
Their air conditioning system was run through a program that was in the cloud.
Exactly. So when you have systems that are in the cloud, right, and not as physically secure, right? Now, you still can tunnel into things that are physically secure. That's another discussion. But once you have to have things in the cloud, you don't have a choice but to be able to access it remotely. So when you're accessing things remotely, if your passwords aren't good, if there's some open ports, if somebody's working remotely from home, and this was a big problem when COVID hit, right? I wrote a big article about this. It's great that everyone's working from home. Your laptop at home is not, and your internet at home, and your Wi-Fi is not secure. So what's going to happen? I can sit in front of your house and get into your Wi-Fi, and then guess what? I'm into your files, right? So it's that kind of stuff. So all of these expenses of breach and extra security and all of that add up. And then AWS, Google, Microsoft, Azure, all of that ends up being more costly for them. And the more people, of course, I mean, we can't forget, yes, it's the cloud, but there is still infrastructure somewhere, right?
Sure.
So there is still... Everything has gotten more expensive, as we know. You were talking about it today. So we keep adding these costs. Everything's going to be more expensive. So it ends up being much simpler and much more cost effective to have stuff in-house in a room. So it's a balance. I personally, when I go in and I talk to people about what the best solution is, it's kind of a hybrid. Mainly for redundancy, mainly for backups, because at some point something is going to crash or you're not going to have a backup, or you might get, City of Westmount. Hydro, like everyone's been hacked or held for ransom, right? So all of these costs end up adding up.
Okay, moving on to AI. Last few weeks, we were all talking about AI. It was the thing. Leaders on the topic, and especially here in Montreal, because Montreal is recognized as one of the world's main AI development hubs. a lot of specialists from here around the globe saying, hold on a second, we have to stop and reevaluate how we regulate AI, especially after ChatGPT and the impact that this is going to have on basically everything we do. And we're already seeing some of these impacts. Testimony in front of Congress last week, and a lot of conversation. But now it seems to, as everything in our continuous news cycles, now we've moved on to something else. So, Sherri, you follow this regularly. I mean, where are we now on this? Where is this going? After all these warnings, I don't see anything really concrete happening.
And it's not. And that's the unfortunate part, right? So this will all die down until something happens. And it's not going away, right? So, school is let out now, right? So what's going to happen, I would say, let's say October, when students at all levels, right, go back and they have to start putting in papers, staff and teachers and you teach, are all going to be, holy bananas, what do we do now? Like, the big problem that we have with AI, and the reason all the leaders are coming out across the board, right? The Googles and the founders, all of that. And Sam, you mentioned the Congress, testimony in front of Congress last week. The reason that everyone's coming out and being so adamant about this is because we're not ready, right? We've gotten into this pattern of wanting everything very fast, right? Let's get it out. Let's, the newest technology, new this, new that. Great. Mazel tov. Problem is we don't have the backup to counteract it, right? And if we don't have that, we complain about, I remember complaining when I moved back from New York, and I was like, what do you mean you guys don't have Visa debit? I mean, I've been using a Visa debit in New York for 5 years. Well, we didn't have the infrastructure in the back to support that kind of stuff, and we needed it to be secure. And this is the problem. This is why everyone needs to take a breath. And so, unfortunately, in the news cycle, as you know better than I do, until something happens again, then everyone will put up their arms. And the rest of us who have been saying, hey, guys, we need to take a beat here. Because it's not just the good people, right? It's not even about the students. It's the bad actors. It's Russia. It's China. It's all of that other stuff that's impacting our day-to-day life.
So is the solution, what would you advocate should be done? Should it be like, I've heard experts talk about a worldwide nuclear regulatory commission style body that would, basically make sure that AI is governed around the world. Is
100%.
Is that the thing that should be done?
Yeah, and you and I talked about this a few weeks ago on another segment. We need that. We need the sort of GDPR, that regulation that came out on personal data, right? We need that.
GDPR, what is that?
It's the global
for us non-experts, non-leaders, Sherri, we don't know your vernacular.
I apologize. It's the
GDPR
is the global way that the EU brought in measures.
Okay, that's the European Union's way of regulating AI.
Exactly.
It's called GDPR.
Of regulating personal data.
Oh, okay.
And
personal
what you
data.
can and can't share. Now, we're behind them, but we're finally catching up with Bill 63 in Quebec. And Quebec's actually a leader in this. And then Canada's following suit. It's a way of regulating that I can ask CJAD, if I've just signed up for the newsletter, I can ask them, what are you doing with my email address? So it's that kind of regulation that we need, and it has to be global, because if
the US or China or whoever doesn't jump in, then it's worthless.
Then to go back to what I said earlier, the back door is open.
Okay, so right now, after all we've heard, from Elon Musk to Mr. Benjo here in Montreal, all the top leaders, the ex from Google saying, okay, I've resigned because we need to slow down and I'm leaving Google, and, sound the alarm about this. We've heard all this. We've heard the testimony, but nobody's doing squat.
Well, the leaders need to step up, right?
And who are those leaders? What needs to happen?
It needs to happen at the federal level. It needs to happen with the Privacy Commission federally. Provincial governments will probably have to have their own. And I agree with you. There has to be a global sort of, summit on this and how everyone's going to come together and go forward, because otherwise...
So what would the doomsday situation that would provoke this? Because obviously it doesn't seem like people will move until some quote-unquote disaster happens. What would be a disaster linked to AI?
Somebody getting the nuclear codes? I mean, seriously, they're just...
Energy, they could...
Energy,
air traffic.
Getting into our hydro system, right? Our hydro... And then that's it. Like, it's not only Quebec. I mean, we supply... How many other places, right? I mean, so it's those, once our infrastructure gets, anyone's infrastructure, us, the US, whoever's, once the grid goes down.
How vulnerable are we?
I think we're pretty vulnerable. Because we don't have, we're getting there now, right? Having worked in the education system, having understood where even CEGEPs are with their infrastructure, we need to play catch up. And the only way we can do that is by the government putting in the funds and the expertise and the solutions to be able to move that forward.
Well, on that high note, Sherri, thank you for coming on and following all this for us. Appreciate your time today, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Sherri McGurnaghan is a cybersecurity expert, and yes, she is a leader in the field.